Alrighty. Today we have professional MMA fighter Diego Pereira. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah,
you
perfect.
would say in Portuguese, really, if you really want to stress it.
Yeah.
It's Pereira.
Pereira.
Pereira, yeah.
Is that right?
It's like,
with an accent.
like paella.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
You know what
right.
I mean?
Sweet. Because I was watching a couple of videos and I'm like, I think I've got this. And then
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's with an English accent, Diego Pereira is correct.
Yeah, sweet. All right, nailed it. There we go. Well, yeah, appreciate you coming in, man. Do you want to kick us off with do you have a can't get any worse story or something like that? You can
Can't get
start
any
us with?
worse. Man, you know what? In this crazy field that I'm in, there's a few stories, but with regards to weight cutting, are you guys familiar with weight cutting in the sport of
Yeah.
any combat sport, really?
Seen it all. I've obviously never taken part in any of it. Yeah.
So yeah, weight cutting is a big deal in combat sports, and so for me, I've been training altogether for about 11 years.
Okay.
And when I decided I wanted to compete and pursue fighting as a career, I started trying to understand how things work. So as you begin, everything is guesswork, really. And so in the age of internet, I was trying to research and understand. So I got, I think this was my second fight. And I'm trying to cut down to this bantamweight division is what they call it, which is around 61.5 kilos.
Okay.
And at the time, I was still smaller, but this was probably a 10-kilo cut for me to get down to there. You know what I mean? Walking around over 70 kilos. But thinking that I would have an advantage in size, I was, determined to get down there. And so just trying to do everything on my own and the guesswork and everything. So I was just researching, and then I came across clips and stories of fighters doing different methods and whatever.
Yep.
And so I found this one that was saying, I saw clips and people doing this, basically like wearing plastic bags underneath your clothing. And then you wear a tracksuit on as well, just to increase the warmth.
For sure.
And the idea is that you increase the core temperature, and then you put yourself in a hot environment, and that will, start sweating. So force the body to start sweating and stuff like that. And that's the idea.
Rocky.
So
Yeah.
So, man, I've evolved and learned, so it's gotten much better this day. But then, I didn't know this was a dumb method and this was not healthy at all. But I was like, well, if I want to do it, this is what's got to be done. I literally thought that needs to be done. If you want to be a part of it, this is what needs to be done. So I did it. No understanding of diet, no understanding of, how manipulating certain elements with, salt, such as salt, carbohydrates, all of those things can influence that weight as well.
Right.
I just literally thought sweating is the way to go. So I got to try to sweat as much as possible to get down to that weight. I've got this much time. Let's do it. I got to do it the fastest way possible. So plastic bags, tracksuit, get
plastic bags.
Yeah, I get a spin bike inside the sauna.
True.
And so I'm in the sauna, spin bike, plastic bag, tracksuit, and I'm just going for hours just trying to sweat as much as I can. So I think, obviously in the beginning you're sweating, it's cool. I was like, all right, great, getting down. So I come out every 30 minutes or so, something like that. Dry myself off, check the weight. Oh, I still got so such and such to go. Put everything back on, get back in there and just go. I think all in all, I did probably close to 4 hours of this.
Really?
Back and forth.
In the one like
There's only so much water you
same
can,
day,
cut out by
same
sweat.
day.
Right.
Because again,
Crazy.
weigh-ins was going to be around 6:00 at night, and I started this around probably like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. So I had enough time, but man, I literally was at the brink of death because I got to a point where I had maybe 400 grams to go to make the weight.
Yeah.
I go in one more time. I'm already depleted as hell, and I'm in there. I can no longer pedal. I'm just sitting there.
It's so crazy.
It's
It's like a bottle of water, 400 grams, is like 400 mil-ish, right?
I guess.
Which is, that's what, 300 something mil?
Yeah. 600.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
even less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
psycho.
so at this point, the body was no longer sweating.
Yeah.
I was dry as hell, and I'm in the sauna, just sitting there, and 30 minutes go by, nothing. There's no sweat. There's nothing.
And you're by yourself.
Well, I had a girlfriend at the time
Okay.
who
Yeah,
was
yeah.
sort of in and out checking
Yeah.
on me.
Okay.
Thankfully, otherwise
sure.
I would have kept going. She sort of stopped me, called my coach, and said, "Hey, he's not sweating. This is going on." Otherwise, I would have kept going. And still, after all that, came in and was like 100 grams short. So still didn't make weight, which
Wow.
is unfortunate. But man,
Yeah. After all of
it
that,
literally
yeah.
could not get any worse than that.
Yeah.
But the result was I went in and got a 9-second knockout, which to this
Okay.
day is the fastest knockout in one of the fastest promotions in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't
yeah.
know that. I didn't know that part about you. And then I think I was listening to another podcast you're on, and it came up there. I'm like, fuck, that's hectic.
Yeah.
So that's off the back of that weight cut.
Yeah, it is. And so
nuts.
thankfully, because, as the fight progresses, chances are because you depleted yourself so much day before, your performance tends to be shittier.
Yeah.
Because you just killed your body. Really.
For sure,
So,
So after you weight cut and you weigh in and say you make the weight or goal that you're trying to get to, are you allowed to like put weight back on after that? Or do they weigh you like right before as well?
So normally they try to weigh you in 24 hours
Yeah.
before the
Okay.
scheduled day that you're meant to fight someone. And so you only really say I was making that weight 61.5 kgs. I step on the scales at 61.5, but as soon as I make that weight, I'm allowed to
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
rehydrate and
Yeah.
eat, etc. So the next day I would probably be upwards of 70 kilos.
Yeah, right.
You know?
And then, so is that a thing now? Is then I don't know if it's in the UFC where they're checking hydration as well. Like,
Nah, I know Rogan's big on wanting to introduce that and stuff, because same deal. Fighters will weigh in, and then like during fight day,
Yeah.
you just see like their bodies are
it's
just
jacked.
jacked
Yeah.
and shit, and they've put on
Right.
like an extra 10 pounds
Yeah.
since weigh-in. But which I guess goes back to what you were saying, trying to go to a lower weight class, so you had that advantage.
Yep.
I guess people doing that.
But it makes sense for safety though, like to do.
Oh,
that. 'Cause
100
otherwise,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
You do what you don't like end up
That's
basically
it.
killing yourself trying to get there.
Yeah. Did you so were you part of like a team and stuff then? Like were any of them saying this isn't the right way to do it, or it's just you?
I was, but still, there's some knowledge because I think back then, this is probably, I'd say, 7-8 years ago.
Yep.
And so the knowledge and understanding of weight cutting and stuff like that wasn't anywhere near what it is today.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
even coaches, man, despite their experience within the combat, the technique and all that, they aren't very knowledgeable for weight cutting.
Yeah.
So their own methods might be primitive and
Yeah,
they're trying to
exactly.
say to the fighters, do this, do that. My coaches did their job in terms of preparing me for the fight, but they really weren't equipped with the knowledge to help me cut the weight.
Yeah.
They knew some things. They were telling me, well, this, that, but it wasn't the best. So really, I took it upon myself to try to research and do my thing.
Yeah.
It was sort of expected of the fighter that, you have to have discipline. And this fight's coming up. You said you do this weight, so you got to, get the diet in check. You do this, you do that, and you just got to show up on weight. That was sort of what was expected.
Right. But to say this is where you have to be, you do it essentially.
Yeah. So
your
it
job
was
to get there.
expected that you sort of try to figure it out, and
Yeah.
that's what it was, really.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think that's to do with being in Australia? Like, say, in the US or whatever, if, like, there'd be more on it? Like, like you said, a lot of their techniques were primitive, or like just because that's what the coaches knew or what they had done. I feel like, I don't know, there must be more, like, the information's out there, I guess, right, of how to do it, or it just doesn't exist really.
Well, like I said, this is going back 7-8 years.
Yeah.
So there were some information, and the one that were out there was like trash bags,
Yeah.
suit,
Yeah.
paddle,
Okay,
do
right.
this, do that. You know what I'm saying?
Because you look at like fight teams now and stuff, and they've almost got like a dietitian in their team. They've got people to help with weight cuts and stuff like that. Whereas I guess, like you said, 10 years ago, you're going to a coach that I guess you're relying on to
Yeah.
know everything, but they can only know so much, I guess, like, which is fair enough.
It's crazy how far it's come then in 10 years. Like, I know, like, 10 years is a long time, but it's also not a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I know there's like been heaps of comparisons between like the UFC's or MMA's time frame to like the NFL and shit like that, where they used to play in like leather helmets, and it's like
Which
the
makes
progression of you like MMA compared to that is like astronomical, like so quick. But yeah,
Yeah, no doubt. Well, since then, you know, I am working with a dietitian, and things changed tremendously, and now just the understanding of my own body, how things that I eat influence my weight, you know, with regards to water retention and things like that, and coming into fight week, salt manipulation, carbohydrates, and what to eat, what to not.
So you plan
It's
it way
just-
further out then, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Really
for
up to-
sure.
Yeah.
So now it's about trying to understand how much you can actually cut safely, how much you're gonna do through diet, how much weight you can lose each week, so that you can still perform each day during the training sessions. You can still fuel your body and not have to deplete yourself completely and not eat or whatever, you know, because back then people would literally not eat.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
just trying to make weight, which is ridiculous. You're about to, you know, 24 hours before thing, you like at the brink of death, and the next day you're throwing bones at somebody else.
that's crazy.
It's not smart. So you try, you know, now I work with one of the best around, the fight dietitian, Jordy Sullivan. He's, you know, he's got the who's who in combat sports world, Israel Adesanya, and the best of the best in Australia, New Zealand, and literally everywhere in the world. I was actually one of the, when I sort of met him, he was working, you know, as a dietitian doing his thing, and then he sort of getting his feet within the combat sports industry and trying to go into that route. So I was one of the first athletes he actually worked with to try to develop his methods and make it better. So I'm very grateful to have him in my corner this day now.
Yeah, definitely. Because that was one thing that I was going to say. I don't know why or how I ever thought this, but about 7 or 8 years ago or so, you were like the first Australian MMA fighter that popped up on my like social media, and I was like, fuck, there's like a MMA scene in Australia, because I don't know why I was just so stupid to think that, I don't know, people must have been fighting somewhere and then they popped up in the UFC, because obviously I knew like Robert Whittaker and shit like that, and then you popped up and it was like all your photos were just like professional looking and shit like that, and I'm like, fuck, this is sick.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome. It's always good to, because man, listen, for me anyway, I'm always busy on my grind. I'm not out there paying attention to who is looking, to who is paying attention to, who is watching. I'm trying to do my best, obviously, to represent myself, my team, and others that look up to me, I guess, because today I'm a coach. I teach children, adults from all ages and things like that. So I try my best to represent myself and carry myself with integrity in that sense, but I'm not trying to figure it out or pay attention to who's paying attention or whatever. So it's cool to hear that, you know, people are out there watching and paying attention and sort of giving us props. So it's cool.
For sure. Yeah, because then on the back of that, just shows how much of a little beta bitch I am. But I about a year later or so, because I've had dream after dream of shit I wanted to do, and one of those was like be an MMA fighter, but I'm fucking never got there. So I don't know when it was. It must have been around like 2017, 2018 or something. I went and signed up at the MMA gym above Good Life at Springwood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I went there for maybe like a month or so, and I remember this one training session, I was like doing my warm-up, not looking like anyone else, just uncoordinated shit. And then you and Justin Van Heerden came in.
Oh, okay.
And I was just watching you guys move, and I'm like, holy shit.
That's what I look like when I move.
No, I definitely didn't. And I was like, fuck, there's like levels to this shit. And you two just looked insane. And then about a week later, I dislocated my thumb and never went back.
Oh, dude. So you dislocated your thumb in training?
Yeah. At that place, I was rolling with this big guy, and then he like
You
landed on my thumb, and it bent on the mat. And I was like, oh. But I pushed through the rest of that session, and I was like, oh. And then
That's upsetting.
Yeah. I loved it. It was like I said a few weeks ago, if I had time, I'd definitely maybe I enjoyed the jiu-jitsu part of it.
Good.
Yep.
I just loved it for some reason. It clicked with me, but it's just stacked myself thin
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah,
So-
no,
That's
that's
called being old.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, with,
I think, listen, I think something sort of motivated you or whatever within you said to you, hey, go try this.
Yeah.
You went, you tried. Obviously, maybe the dreams to become a fighter have died, but if you love the sport, I think no matter what age you find yourself in at the moment, you can still do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, I know of elderly people that are, 60 plus or whatever, still doing it, still competing. And this past weekend, I competed in the Queensland States Championship for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, nice.
We had I believe he was 65-year-old competing, man. So
Yeah, right.
that's amazing. So I think, obviously, time dependent, you got to obviously prioritize what you got to prioritize in your life. But I think no matter what age you're in, you can still do it, man.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd love to go back to it, like I said, someday, but at the moment I'm spread thin.
Just get that day.
Yeah.
I understand.
With your fights, do you plan your training around your opponent, like what you focus on, what you focus your training on? Jiu-jitsu versus stand-ups. Striking
So that's a good question. I think we are always working everything, right? And so the previous fight sort of sets up the foundation for the next training. So
your previous fight, you mean, or
yeah. So say I had my previous fight, and he went how he went.
Yeah.
And we sort of try to study that and develop a game plan and go, okay, this worked, this didn't. We can improve this, we can improve that. And so we go back to training to fix those things or get better at those things, sharpen them up, etc. And then once we get a new opponent, then we study them and figure out what they're good at, what they're not so good, and see what their openings are and how our styles match up.
Yeah.
And then we try to formulate a game plan to combat them. And so not the whole entire training camp will be focused on them, but we have a look and try to formulate a game plan to see, okay, this is how we're going to approach this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So once we figure it out, then we sort of do those things with that focus. So, for example, if the goal would be to, okay, we're going to keep it standing, we're going to stay away, we're going to move a lot, we're not going to stand in front of them, this and that. If they come close, we try to clinch, all those different things. So a lot of the game plan will just be based on that, because that's the idea. For weeks and weeks and weeks, you're just trying to, work on that, because that particular opponent is really, really good in one specific area. So we want to sort of stay away from that.
Yeah. I always wondered, I found that interesting, how much of it is focused on your strengths and your weaknesses versus your opponent's strengths and your opponent's weaknesses.
Yeah.
Or if it's just like an equal balance, or you're like,
I guess you've still got to be loose enough with the game plan though to be able to adapt if they've they've spent the whole camp learning striking or whatever, and you're going in there thinking they're like
listen, a lot of fights never go to game plan.
For sure,
specifically. It's like you have a rough idea, sketch plan of how you want to approach this.
Yeah.
But when you go in there, especially today, fighters are so experienced and well-rounded. Everybody's training everything. Kids are starting to learn everything from a young age.
Yeah.
By the time they become adults, they're very well-rounded. So
it's not specializing so much.
Yeah, you're not, you're not going in there with any of your disciplines at zero.
Yeah.
You're sort of well-rounded. So wherever this fight goes, you got to be ready to go.
Yeah, 100%. Did you, what sort of discipline did you start in that sort of kicked all this off for you? Did you start in?
I started with Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, okay. So that's probably two good ones to start with, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Because I think from the get-go, I understood that, you had to practice all of the disciplines equally. So I tried to devote equal amounts of time to each of them from the beginning. I didn't want to just be, one trick pony kind of thing. I wanted to be able to do it all in the mixed martial arts realm. So that's what I focused on.
Okay. So it was always MMA as a whole. You were never wanting to be like a Muay Thai fighter or a Jiu-Jitsu.
No, not really.
It was always MMA.
Yeah, in the beginning, I never had a plan to become a fighter or anything like that.
Oh, true.
What got me into, MMA and that was UFC.
Yeah.
A friend of mine I used to work with, another Brazilian fellow, was telling me about the UFC, and at the time, this guy was reigning as the champion. And to this day, he's highly regarded as one of the best ever. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Anderson Silva.
Yeah, I think I've heard of him.
Yeah. So he was, at the top of his game at the time, and my friend was telling me, and back then I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So I got intrigued and went home, and I used to work night shifts back then, and he was telling me, man, you should check it out. This guy doing this, that. So I went home and started researching, started watching, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then my friend was telling me, he's like, why don't you do it? You should do that stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Because at the time I was, you know what I mean, just doing regular gym work.
For sure.
Weightlifting, 19 years old, not much to it. Originally from Brazil, I practice martial arts, here and there. Capoeira, kung fu, and judo, and boxing here and there, but never did anything for too long.
Okay.
But he said, man, you've always done these things. Why don't you try this one? I said, I don't know. Why don't I try it?
Yeah.
So then I went home, researched it, and I was like, that's cool. Found a gym that was closest that offered morning classes.
Right.
And so I used to travel all the way from Bingley to Miami.
I was gonna say, so back then there wouldn't have been like an abundance of choices,
that
right?
weren't, especially offering morning classes.
Yeah.
Because I used to work night shifts, so I was like, I gotta find something suitable. So then morning classes used to travel to Miami, and that's what I did. I trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai for about a month at this gym, and then sort of bounced around from there. But the goal was never to, I'm gonna go into MMA to become a fighter. Just wanted to learn something.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Being a Brazilian myself, I had no clue about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu until I started training and learning about it, and came to know it was, a Brazilian martial art and all that, and all the history behind it. And I just became, very, very passionate about it and wanted to learn and become better. And then found out about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions around, and later on training a little bit. You can do amateur fights, and that's how you sort of start branching out, meeting people and making connections. And then you find out there's a whole world of these little fights and things going on that you can test yourself with. And that's what it became about for me, just challenging myself to learn these skills and go and compete against somebody else that's also skilled, and see what we can do,
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So obviously it's huge in Brazil and things like that. When did you move to Australia? Were you any part of this in Brazil sort of thing? No.
So I moved to Australia. I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Man, in Brazil, I come from a very small town in the state of São Paulo, huge state of São Paulo, very, very far away from the big city of São Paulo.
Okay.
In this little small town back then, small town called Guararapes.
Okay.
Back then I would say they had maybe 30,000 people or less. Didn't know much about Brazil at all. It's just poor family.
Yep.
Didn't care about school. Was just fucking around and playing video games, staying up late, hanging out with people that were sort of in the same path.
Yeah.
So no motivation for me there, and so dropped out of school, and family needing support to try to keep up with bills and things like that. So I went and found this little job to help mom and support my video game habits. So then, like I said, I used to train here and there sporadically, but wasn't disciplined to carry on and do it for a long time.
Okay.
So moved to Australia when I was 16 to come and work, because my uncle came here first to work in the meatworks. You guys familiar with Tees?
Yeah.
So Tees, at the time, this is going back probably over 15 years, they were in need of a lot of skilled workers in the area. So they started sponsoring guys from Brazil, Vietnam, Russia, all these different countries to come and work, because they needed skilled workers. My uncle got the opportunity. He came over and started working. After a year or so, he realized that he could bring family members in as dependent children. So at the time, my brother was the first he brought over, because we were underage. So he brought my brother over as a dependent child. My brother also started working. Similar situation. My brother didn't finish school, wasn't doing much. Opportunity came, and it's a lifestyle change completely. It's like, bro, you're making this much. We can do this. We can do that. It's like, no doubt. So my brother came over, started doing his thing, and then a year or two after, he brought me over, and that's how it started. Started working at T's and worked there for about 4 years, and that's at 19, met my friend and told me about a UFC, and
crazy.
That's how it went.
That's nuts. So is it still just you, your brother over here, and your uncle. Did you say uncle?
Yeah. Yes, correct. So yes. So my uncle has brought his wife over from Brazil. Yep. We both came together at the same time. Mm-hmm. My brother has married an Australian wife and had children. He's got He's got 3 kids, and my uncle has 2. So that's our family here.
Yeah, nice.
But most of the family is still back in Brazil.
Okay.
My mother just came over recently and spent 6 months with us, and she went back recently. My grandma has come over, spent some time, went back, and my sister's still there. We're trying to bring her over soon. But yeah, most of the family is still back in Brazil.
Nice. You mentioned, do you still love video games?
Not really. These days, I'm just so consumed with MMA and learning and just studying. If I'm not training, I'm either home studying film to learn. That's cool. Studying the best of the best and game plan, trying to systemize everything that we do with my team and all that. The guys I train with. Mm-hmm. I don't have any time for video games.
I'm exactly the same. I set the Xbox up a few weeks ago for my oldest son, and I just started playing it, and I'm like, I can feel my brain melting right now. I'm like, I'm turning this off. I'm like, otherwise it's going to end very badly.
You say you study film, like, do you go back and look at old footage, or is it all kind of more recent? So I think about things like, so say if you talk about basketball or whatever, and you think about Michael Jordan, then you try and put them against anyone big now, and whoever's recent, just because of time and how things have progressed, like any of the current athletes arguably would beat any of these, like, a legacy, I guess, athletes. Do you think there's benefit in looking at old footage in fighting?
I think so, because you get to see their approach then, what worked then, and there's still a lot of things that guys used to do back then within the MMA world that are still relevant today, and some things that we may have missed, and so we try to go back and study the best of the best then and see what they were doing good, what they were not doing that we are now. Yeah. So I think there's value in that for sure.
And then there's obviously then innovation with, like, new ideas and techniques and
exactly. So man, because so many of these guys, the best of the best in the world in any discipline, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, judo, wrestling, MMA, boxing, kickboxing, all of these, they've recorded an instructional. You know what I mean? So they are literally telling you, hey, this is what I do here. And they're the best of the best. So you be an idiot not to try to find a way to study these guys and see how you can implement those things into your own game. For sure. So then it becomes like a little puzzle. It's like, okay, this guy does this. He did it really well, and he was the best at his time. How can we use some of the tools that he used to be effective and apply that into our own game? Well, that one wasn't so effective. We're obviously not going to use that, so we're going to discard it. And we start putting the pieces together into our own game. It's like, okay, and then we try to systemize it. It's like, if we're on our back, we need to make sure that we do this, and then if they do that, we do this, and then we use this tool. And we use that tool.
Like the flow of jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. Right? And then same thing with the stand-ups. Like, we're going to try to use this, maintaining distance. If they come forward, we try this in the feints to get in, and the takedown. If they try this, we try that. You know what I mean? So we just try putting the pieces together. And that's, an attempt to become a full, well-rounded mixed martial arts with so many options, depending on no matter what the opponent does to counter, we have an answer for it. And that comes through study and practice.
Right. You know? I love hearing stuff like that because, like, obviously with me being somewhat obsessed with it and watching it all the time, I understand that you guys spend your lives basically doing this one thing. But then you go to, like, a pub to watch the UFC or something, and it's just people thinking, like, oh, these guys
I would have done this.
These guys have put some shorts on, jumped in the cage, and they're just fucking swinging.
It's like bare knuckle boxing, whatever it is.
But it's crazy because I spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. Is I do stand up, and when people watch me, it's like people are just in the crowd like, oh, I could get up there and do that. But to like get that joke to where it's had to get, you've had to do like 20 revisions and
I can imagine.
bomb in front of like 30 crowds just to get that to that point. And then you're just dealing with people going like, oh, I can tell a joke. I'm like, fuck.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But
so you focus on train and drill essentially to become muscle memory so you can just feel it out and flow.
Yeah, a lot of it for sure. Yeah, you don't want to, because there's so much to it. You don't want to be thinking about the next step a lot of the times.
Then you'd end up being one step behind because you thought about it. Whereas,
they
don't.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to train so much that it becomes, like you said, muscle memory, that your body, your system, everything is just like feeling it, and then it does the next move without you having to think about it. Because you are in that position. It's familiar to you. You've done it many times. You're just going to execute. That's the idea. You're just sort of on autopilot when you're fighting. You are still obviously thinking. You're trying to do setups, but when things are going fast, you just have to be able to do it instinctually, and that comes through from all the hours of practice and doing that thing over and over.
So from that, in a fight, then the perception of time, does it feel like no time at all? And then like after it, it's been 3 minutes or 5 minutes or however long the rounds are. Like while you're in there, does it feel quicker than what it actually, like than the time is? Or
it actually feels longer.
Longer, okay.
Yeah, it feels longer. It feels longer because I think like you just...
It's like, I think it's like it's slow motion, like everything happens a little bit, like you can see more, you're tuned in.
Yeah. Because like time kind of slows down, nothing else outside of this little box. Because like something that can't come through the TV is this little interaction that's going on between you and your opponent.
yeah,
Okay.
Right here in front of each other. You can see the outside, right? But this little interaction going on here,
right?
You can't really see it from the cameras and all that from the outside. So this thing is like we're interconnected here, and the outside don't matter. That's for me anyway. So you're so focused and honed in here. Your peripheral, everything is heightened. Your adrenaline, your eyesight, all of that. Your instincts, your reaction timing, that slows down.
Okay.
But the time feels much longer because you're fighting for your life.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? So it's not slowed down in that sense that's like, oh, that 5 minute felt so quick. No, it's like, fuck that 5 minutes. Especially if you obviously end up in a bad situation, in a position you hurt or something like that. That's going to feel like eternity because you don't want to be stuck in that situation. But on the other hand, if things are going well and you're almost about to finish someone, then time seems a bit slower because it's like, oh, everything's going great, you know? But yeah, most of the time it's like much longer. You're in your senses are heightened, and then
that's interesting because I never thought about it like that. But now that you said that, I can see like if there was something that you were like, if you're scared of something, you're like, just get me out of here, and it feels like forever.
Yeah. And that's crazy as well that you said like you're just focused on that and not the crowd and stuff, and it's like, yeah, fuck, like because on TV you're watching and like obviously some people showboat and shit like that. But yeah, that's nuts to be so focused on.
So your corner or your team, if they're yelling out advice or do like I see it and they like, try and do this or get that. Is that something that you can even actually hear? Like, can you pick up on any advice or that they're throwing at you essentially?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So with the corner, that's really the only people you want to be able to hear.
Tune into. Yeah. Okay.
And that's something also that comes from the training.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously being coached day by day by this guy and these people. So you're accustomed to listening to their instructions, and obviously you're trained to it. So you don't want to tune them out because you need those. But everything else is like irrelevant.
So there's a thing like where, you know how like if you're in a crowded area, you could hear your kid scream out from you from far away, and your brain is tuned to recognize that voice. I wonder if there's like something there because you've spent so much time with your coaches and heard their voices so much that you can tune out everything else and hear that pit like come through.
Yeah, for sure.
It's nuts that you've broken it. Like this has just clicked in my head, like that you've broken it down that far. It's almost like we're getting two guys to go in a cage and fight for their lives, and then be like, "Here's a giant distraction around you guys."
Focus.
Like, yeah, exactly. That's fucking nuts. Like,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. So you have to, as a fighter and athlete, I understand the risks involved. So it's no joke. You know, for people, obviously, it's entertainment. We want to try to make it entertaining as possible and all that. But at the same time, you are fighting for your life. And so you got to take it serious. So the training is not only physical, but also mental. You try to, meditation is a huge part because that helps develop your focus. You know, because if your focus is not there, then you're in the fight and you get distracted by the noise, by the crowd, by somebody shouting or their coaches or their freaking what they're doing. You're not going to have a good time.
Yeah. So is meditation sort of how you get yourself to that?
For sure.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it. Visualization, meditation, focus on the breath work, visualization, and just doing those things are a huge part of my training camp.
Yeah. So much that goes into a day. Like so much.
Yeah.
But,
and it's a daily thing, man, you know, because it's weird, but once you sign the contract and you know who you're fighting months, like say 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time, it's like you can't help but think about that thing for every day.
For sure.
Do you have to take a break and force yourself to, you know, all right, I have to take, you know, a day, maybe a day is too long, but some amount, 6 hours to like do something else so then I can refocus?
Yeah, so I, when I say I'm thinking about it all day, every day, all the time, it's not like obsessively every single minute, every single time. I'm relaxed about it, you know, I understand. But the thing is, you know you have a task at hand in 6 weeks, this date. So I know the date's coming. I'm not so much focused on the opponent. I know the date's coming, and I know I need to be ready for that because it's going to be a tough challenge. So I can't, you know, parties, that's out of the question. Drinking, that's out of the question. Doing all these different things that, you know, regular people with a 9-to-5 job would probably do maybe. I can't do those things. So in that sense, I know it's like I got a job to do on this date. These are the things that are required. I got to stay focused here. So basically, driving, I'm probably thinking about it, you know, game plan-wise, things I've done, how you went in the training session, all those things, how it can go. But when it's time to switch off, I can switch off. If I'm watching a movie, obviously, I'm not thinking about it. If I'm hanging out with my fiance, I'm not thinking about it with my family and all that. But most of the time, I'm thinking about the date that's coming up and what I got to do. You know?
I don't think people see it like what you said, that all the work that goes in behind it. But it essentially is, and you said like someone that works a 9-to-5 job, but you essentially are working a 9-to-5 job or even more than 9-to-5, just not in a traditional sense where you go to a place to work. It's like all this other stuff still counts as work. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It plays into it.
Because I mean, like the people in the UFC and stuff, this is a full-time job, and you're trying to cram what they're doing on top of a full-time job as well. So it's like fucking... I
mean, to be honest, what I meant by a 9-to-5 is like it's not a normal standard sort of day-to-day thing where it's 9-to-5, you're there. When you leave, it's over kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's 24/7.
Yeah.
It's 24/7, so that's why it's not a 9-to-5. It's like you may train in the morning, have a couple hours break or whatever, have a nap or whatever, and then afternoon, and then back again in the evening. And in between that, you're probably teaching or something. In my case, that's what I'm doing. That's my job.
Yeah.
You know, I'm teaching in between all my training sessions. I'm working, teaching kids classes, taking personal training lessons with people. Could be boxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu with a kid. You know, everything. It's if I'm not training physically, I'm either meditating or teaching somebody else or watching film. So that's my job 24/7.
That's cool that you've been able to set yourself up to still, like, your work is still entangled in that in a way. So it's like, because I know, like, I just spend all day at my day job just wishing I could just be doing the shit that I want to do. Yeah. But, like, obviously I get it. It's probably still a grind. Like, some days you're in it and, like, fuck, I wish I was just training right now myself. But, yeah.
Have you found teaching beneficial for your own learning? Because I found, like, if I have to explain something to someone else, I'll identify parts that I don't know, and I'll be like, oh shit, I don't know this. I need to go and learn this. So if I had to explain it, then I could explain it better. So I'm just like, the question is, has teaching helped you learn more?
Yeah, for sure. It has 100%. When I started teaching, my coach in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he was already basically getting me into coaching as early as I was a blue belt. And the blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like the next belt up after white for adults. that's quite early, for someone to start teaching. But I wasn't teaching a full class. It was like, coach maybe was gonna be running late.
Yeah.
Hey, can you take the warm up?
Yeah.
It's like, cool. So that already starts getting you like, getting used to standing in front of people and giving instructions and being that lead. That helps you increase your confidence and your communication skills and start dipping your toes into that. That already started helping me, because then it's like, what does coach do for warm up normally? He does the fundamentals. Okay. Hip escape, forward rolls, stand ups, things like that, break falls, all these different things. So then it's repetition in my own mind first before I got to tell these people. Then I got to show them how to do it so that they can replicate it. So it's like 3-4 times more than if I was just doing it if somebody was teaching me.
Right.
And over the years, then teaching Muay Thai, boxing, and wrestling, all those things, he has 100% helped me improve my own technique.
That's cool. I guess you'd see, obviously, teaching all those different bodies, everyone would move in different ways and stuff, and help you, I guess, analyze your opponent if they do move in a weird, funky way, I guess. Like, you might have seen it in training at some stage. Something might click.
Yeah, for sure. You learn how to, because you've done it so many years and you've seen it so often, you see, how they're moving and patterns and things like that you can exploit, for sure. Nice.
What do you like doing outside of fighting? Anything, or it's just all fighting?
I was like, what's downtime?
Yeah. Because at the moment it just sounds like fight. Train.
Yeah, most of the time, it is. And I consider that downtime as well. When I come home and I get to relax and watch some film, some fights. I love that. But watching movies, I like going to the movies with my fiance. We go hang out. I like going for walks, things like that. Seeing family, hanging out, talking. I love talking. So if I can go see my family and have a talk and sit down for hours, just chat or barbecue or just watch. Usually, like, if there's a big UFC card coming up on the weekend, I'll get together with my family and friends and we'll barbecue and just talk and watch it and hang out. It's like this. I love that.
Yeah, so he's at the place where the things that he enjoys is the downtime. So then work is like not work.
Yeah.
It's pretty much it, man. Just if I'm not training or fighting or whatever, studying film, I either watch a movie, hang out with my family, and friends.
Got any? What's the best last movie that you saw?
Ooh, good
James
question.
I'm terrible. I'm terrible with movies that's come out over the duration of this podcast. Turns out I've never seen anything. But what I've seen, I feel like are great movies, but apparently not.
He only watches the best.
Actually, the most recent thing I've watched wasn't a movie, was a series.
Okay.
I watch very few series, but some of them that I really enjoy, when they come out with a new season, I tend to tune in every now and then. So it was the series of Black Mirror.
Oh yeah,
familiar with it?
See, that's something else I haven't jumped on
Black
it yet.
Mirror's coming out.
I love that. It's sci-fi. It's I love all of that AI thing. That think outside the box type of stuff. It's like, ooh, this could actually happen. Wow, this is amazing. So I love that. So I just finished the most recent season of Black Mirror.
Nice, sweet. And you mentioned you have a fiance. How's she feel like watching you in there? Did she like cover her eyes and shit like that, or she's all for it?
No, she's strong. She's she's been through a lot herself, and so she can deal. Obviously, she doesn't want to see me get hurt, but she understands. She knows I'm very capable of defending myself, and I've trained extremely hard, and I'm well prepared to go in there. And it's rare that I will get hurt in a fight. She knows I'm very capable of defending myself, and I've fought the best of the best out there already, and she's sort of seen me at the lowest lows and the highest side. She knows I'm strong no matter what, and so she just has a good time. She's obviously nervous and excited at the same time. She wants it to be over as quickly as possible with me being successful, but
9 seconds, please.
Whilst it's happening, she can still enjoy it.
Yeah, sweet. No, that's good to hear. So have you, because you're in the top 5 now in Australia? That's crazy. So do you have any fights coming up?
Not yet.
Nothing booked,
we're looking at trying to get one booked in for September.
Okay.
So they have a big UFC card coming down in Sydney.
Yeah.
Eternal MMA wants to do one the day before
I saw that
in Sydney. So we're trying to get on that.
Okay.
For sure, that'd be sweet. Yeah,
So
if they do make that happen, that'd be a crazy like weekend down in Sydney. Eh?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
fucking-
Yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah, yeah.
So how does a year pan out then? Like how many fights would you say take a year?
Anywhere between 3 and 4.
Okay.
I think is a good time. And because, you know, you don't want to just be taking fights every week or every month. You never know how a fight plays out. You could come out with injuries. Usually you never go into a fight with no injuries. There's always like a little niggle here and there. And so you want to nurse those things. You want to allow your body to heal in between fights as well as improve.
Yeah.
You know, so you want to give yourself time between each fight. So 3 to 4 months between each fight is a good time to be able to reassess and heal up and have a good time and get back in that. So 3 to 4 fights, I think, is good.
Yeah, sweet. That sounds like a busy year. Like four fights in a year. Because what?
Does it have to depend on like how your previous fight also went? So say obviously, like if you got a quick knockout and you like didn't really like put your body under like crazy stress of like having to do, you know, whatever the full amount of a fight is, you could take a fight sooner, or would you still wait that, you know, same amount of period, like time before taking some
with that, then you may consider going back in quicker. It just depends what opportunity presents, and what's being offered and what's out there and what the goal is and that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're right. If you go in and get a quick one, then you want to get back in.
Because I feel like you would like,
sooner.
you know, I've done, you know, months of training. I spent, you know, however many minutes in this fight, keep that momentum going. Like I've already put in like all this work.
Yeah.
Like try and like take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So if we could line another one up that's good for us, then we would, for sure. We would.
And then, so when someone's presenting you with opportunities for fights, do you get to, is it like, oh, we have this option and this option and this option, and you get to like deliberate and pick the fights? Or is it like, do you go and challenge someone else? Like, I don't know how it really works. How does a fight come together?
That's a good question. So within the ranks and all that, I don't really know who puts the ranks together, to be honest. It's just out there. There's fighters out there, you know?
Yeah.
So then it's the promoter's job.
Yeah.
Say Eternal MMA. Cam O'Neill is the Eternal director. He usually puts together the matchups and everything. So it's his job to outsource and find the fighters that are out there within your weight division.
Okay.
So today I compete in the featherweight division. So within that division, he outsourced fighters that are out there, similar record, that could be equal to you, that could be a good challenge, that are fair, and that could put you up to the next level that people would want to see. So it's his job to look for that. And then once he finds it that he thinks could be a potential good matchup, he'll present them to you. And then you can go and discuss that with your manager and your team and say, okay, well, sounds good, sounds not. What's next after that? What can we do after that? Is that within our goal and plan? It is. Great. Let's do it.
That's interesting. So it's usually just kind of one at a time, or is it multiple options? Because I think, like, if someone said, here's your option, like, this is the person that we want you to think about having a fight with, and I was like, what's the opportunity cost of, like, putting in those months of training? Could I have had a different fight that would have been maybe better or, you know, maybe worse?
That's right. So usually it's a one option at a time. It's like, hey man, I got this guy, potentially.
Yeah.
What do you think? And then we discuss. If it is good, we might say, yeah, that's good. And then if they also agree, then we lock that in.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's their promoter's job. They usually have more than one in mind. But we're you know, if they come one or two, then we discuss. But usually it's one. They come up with one, and then we discuss it, and then if not, they try to find another.
Is it pretty common for like fights to fall through? Like after you've said, okay, yeah, we agree, we're gonna do this fight and start training camps, and then obviously if someone gets injured, then maybe that has to fall out. And
Yeah, no, that's very common.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, obviously, combat sports, every day you're out there trying to push yourself and go into a fight soon. You're at a risk of getting injured in training. So that happens often. I've had it happen many times over my career. Yeah. The worst of them is when it happens fight week. Oh, it's like fight week. Oh, sorry, man. I got an injury. You got to pull out. It's like
all that work.
Do you try and pull up a little bit then, leading up as you get closer and closer to like, I guess, change up the type of training you do, or is it like how is the training camp weighted? Like early on, we'll do lots of heavier stuff because then if something happens, we have time to get the recovery in.
Yeah, we do taper. I work with experts in their field with nutrition and obviously skill training and strength and conditioning, all of those things, and I just trust them and trust what they put together for me. Okay. And I just put in the work. To show up and put in the work, and as we are coming up we just try to listen to the body as much as possible as well. Yeah. So as the training camp progresses, if we have a particular heavy day scheduled and the body's not there, or if you feel your energy levels aren't there, you're just trashed. You're not gonna trash the body some more with the heavy lifting session just because it was scheduled. Yeah. So you try to listen to it and then go into recovery, or maybe you just take that day off completely. You just try to do that as you go.
Yeah, definitely. So all your fights are with Eternal MMA. Are you contracted to them? Like if another organization approached you, is that how that works?
Nah. So you're right. Most of my fights are with them. Early on, I had a couple with some others. Yeah. But since fighting at Eternal, I've just been with them because it just made sense. They at the time, I think I've been with them since the beginning pretty much. And they at the time were the best. For sure. And they have continued to be the best, and they have improved along the way. So I've sort of grown with them as well. And so it just made sense for me to stick with them. I think at one point I signed an exclusive contract with them for about 3 fights that's run out. So I'm sort of a free agent. I think locally most fighters are free agents because obviously, there are other promotions out there. You don't want to be contracted to the one, although they would like that. You want to have the ability to go else, and that gives you also negotiation power and things like that.
That helps you build your, I don't know, name is not the right word, but like, so if you have that ability to go wherever you need to go, then you can leverage yourself.
Of course.
Yeah, and I suppose if you're waiting on that one promotion to give you a fight and you're waiting for like 8 months or something, it gives you the opportunity to go elsewhere if you want to fight, I guess.
You can be proactive, I guess, isn't it?
Because, from what I can see from the outside in, Eternal seems like the place you want to be, like in Australia. Like, because over the last few years, I've noticed, like, I'll be watching people in Eternal and then next minute they're on the UFC. Like,
How many organizations do we have here? I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a few. I think in Queensland there's... other than Eternal, there's this promotion called XFC. Yeah. And they've been, I think, the longest standing promotion in Australia, but Eternal has surpassed them. Yeah. XFC used to be the number one, and they have gotten some guys in the UFC as well. So they're still around. Yeah. And then there's this other promotion that's fairly new. It's called Beatdown Promotions. Okay. They usually hold their events in Brisbane. Okay. They're a pretty good one as well. They're coming up. They've gotten a couple guys in the UFC as well. Sweet. They've got some good deals, and they're investing in the fighters a lot. So they're a good one. They're getting some traction. Within Queensland, I would say those. And there's also Sunshine Coast. There's one called. I forget the name right now, but there's one in Sunshine Coast. So there's a few around, and then obviously other states.
Yeah, I think I remember the Sunshine Coast one. It's like a fist with a wave. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the logo. Yeah. I can't remember the name either.
I forget. But, there's a few around. Yeah. There's a few.
Because the first live MMA thing I ever went to was an XFC card at the Mansfield Tavern. And it was just like, because I'd watched the UFC for maybe 5 years before that maybe. But seeing it in in real life and hearing like a knockout in person, I'm like, fuck. Like it just made it so much more real being in the room.
You go to many like events or fights to watch in person, just to watch, or is all of your viewing like reviewing tape and
I do enjoy going to events,
Yeah.
but I mostly go to them when I have teammates fighting on
Okay.
them as well. If I don't know anybody on the card or whatever, I probably won't go. But if I have teammates on it, which I do quite often,
Yeah.
I will go to them and watch.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times I just am at the back room
Okay.
helping them
Oh,
get
okay,
ready, or
yeah.
I'm cornering them,
Yeah.
which is the case this weekend as well. I have a couple of teammates fighting on it, and I'm gonna be there. My fiance is
Yeah.
gonna be there, but I'm gonna be in the locker room helping them and cornering and coaching as well. So that's my
Working essentially.
that's my view. But
Yeah.
yeah, if I just go to watch, it's rare that I just go to watch
Okay.
and there's nobody I don't know in the thing, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And is Australia sort of where you see yourself staying? There's no sort of desire to go over to the US and chase anything? You're happy with how things are going here?
Absolutely, we want to go overseas and,
Yep.
and chase new heights and levels. I have fought in an international promotion when they came to
Okay.
Australia one time, a Russian promotion.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
At the time, they were called ACB,
Okay.
which stood for Absolute Championship Berkut. And I fought on that a few, I would say probably 4 years ago. I had a good show in there. They held it on the Gold Coast, and then left, never came back. But that was
Okay.
my first international showing. And but yeah, we have plans, man. We have plans working together with my business manager and all these guys that
Sweet.
influenced me. We definitely want to go overseas.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, nice.
There's many options out there. UFC being one of them.
Yep.
PFL,
yeah.
Bellator, ONE FC. All those are things that we look for.
Sweet.
But our goal is to just keep working
Yeah,
and
yeah.
focusing on what we can control here locally first,
Yep.
and just keep doing that and continue the momentum. That's
Yeah.
the main thing, really.
No, it's a good mindset because the reason I asked is I listened to another podcast you're on and you went to train, was it at Jackson Wink?
Yes.
Yeah. How was that like? Because were you in the same room as like John Jones and
Yeah.
Holly Holm, and that's nuts. Was
For
that
sure.
Was that like weird or anything? Or you
That
just
was
sort
at first. That was surreal, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
because you just in the beginning, I was just seeing those guys on TV
Yeah,
and
for sure.
seeing their fights and things like that, and I was like, never thought I would be in the same room with them, training with them, and getting instructed by them, sparring them.
Yeah, right. That's
So
nuts.
that was definitely surreal. But after a few weeks, you just become part of the team. You don't want to be that fanboy guy.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
room. I was never
Exactly.
that. I was never that. I was there to work
Mm-hmm.
and show myself and be a sponge.
Yeah,
really.
nice.
And
Is that something your team set up, or that's something you did on your own shoulders, sort of thing?
yeah, I researched them
Yeah,
and
yeah.
outsourced them and reached out. And
Nice.
at the time, they had sort of an application online because
Right.
the gym is massive. They had dorm rooms within the gym and everything. So they would, obviously, to fund all that, they would, I guess, make it open for fighters
Yeah.
to come and train and stuff like that. But be selective with it,
Right.
So
Yeah,
you'd have to apply. They would have to look at your record, your skills, and if you have anything to bring to the table. So obviously, if you're an amateur, you don't have zero skills.
Yeah.
They're not going
Yeah.
to let you come in. So I was fortunate enough that they accepted me, and I went in and spent time there and lived in the gym and got to meet some great guys and learn
Yeah.
a lot. It's great.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. With I forgot what I was going to say. But were there any major differences in like US to Australian training, or is MMA's MMA sort of thing?
At the time, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very far ahead.
Yeah,
Very far ahead.
because I guess when would that have been roughly? Was it during the come up of like John Jones and Holly Holm and things like that?
They
or-
were still very much at the top. I think Holly
Okay.
Holm was no longer the champion. She had,
Oh, okay, all right.
but she was still, she's still at the
Yeah,
top
yeah.
to this day.
Still,
Jones
yeah.
was still the champion, and they still had, many other guys there. But the main difference was just that they had a lot of bodies
Yeah,
in the
for sure.
room.
Oh, interesting.
The thing that lacks in Australia a lot of times is that there's not enough guys committed at 100% to it. So obviously, people got to work. A lot of them, they have families, and so they have
Yeah.
to work a full-time job and then come to generally to train in the evening, and
Yeah.
that's that. Over there, what I found was that was like all day long. There's
Yeah.
always a few guys there ready to go,
Yeah,
They're
right.
highly experienced, and there's coaches around. And that was the main thing. It's like that was their full-time job.
Okay.
It's rare that you find the case here.
Yeah, yeah.
So
'Cause
that was the main thing. Yeah.
Like you said, when you were trying to find a gym to suit your morning hours that you needed, it's like
Yeah, you had
the
to drive
gyms here,
to,
they're open either in the afternoon or
early morning.
Yeah, some gyms I've seen now have like a lunchtime session or something like that. But yeah, definitely not like that where it's almost a 24/7 gym sort of thing. Like,
yeah, these days, it's a lot better. I found a much better facility that sort of resembles that.
Yeah.
It's even better
true.
now, where I train and what I do with the guys I train with and what we're doing. It's even better.
I guess I don't know if it did work like this, but the dorm room situation would have been cool as well. If you were bored at 7 o'clock at night, you could go, or maybe not 7 o'clock at night, because I'm sure there was a lesson or whatever then. But during the day, if you were in your dorm with your dorm mate, I guess, you could be like, do you want to go and practice something? Like,
that was the case. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's
sure.
cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
You essentially immerse yourself in it and just can do it whenever. What's so obviously right now fighting is your career. Do you have plans for when you're finished fighting? What you think you want to do? To have your own gym or?
I haven't thought that far ahead, to be honest, but I mean it's a given that I'll definitely have my own gym someday and probably become a coach.
Yeah.
And that's a given because I love it. I love everything about it. I love training and if one day I stop fighting, then I'll naturally be coaching and have my own gym and all that. But I haven't thought that far ahead, to be honest. I just focus on right now and doing my best right now and getting to the top.
Yeah. So with someone like you, where you've fully immersed your whole life into this, what are your thoughts on like all these YouTubers and shit like that? Do you hate that sort of shit where they think they can come in and be like,
YouTube fighting?
Like Logan Paul and Jake Paul and like fucking who came out this week? Elon Musk and Zuckerberg want to have a fight. Like, does that annoy you at all? Or you just fucking
it doesn't, man. It's entertaining. I love it because it brings more attention to our sport. I don't care. Let them do their thing. I mean, if anything, it brings more eyes to the sport.
Definitely.
People, especially Zuckerberg and Elon wanting to do MMA, it's like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Whether because obviously people know they're not fighters, but still they're such huge influencers. They're very intelligent people, and they influence the world in such a crazy way. And now they want to come and throw hands at each other.
Yeah.
Fuck, I love that.
Let's
see what they can do.
Entertaining.
I think it's cool as well.
Let's see what they can do. No, it doesn't annoy me at all because they're not disrespecting me in any way. They're actually bringing more attention to the sport, in which case, reverberates and helps everybody else around it. But they actually train. They actually, they're actually training. I love that because now they're sort of respecting it enough so that they want to get some skills under their belt before they go in. They're not just getting off the street with no skills and getting in the UFC. So they're actually training, putting some respect on it. But no, it doesn't annoy me at all, man. It's fun.
I still think Elon's going to get crushed.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to take of it. It's a weird fight. Like,
I
think he's been doing jiu-jitsu for a while though.
Yeah,
I think Elon's a bit bigger, isn't he?
I think he is. Yeah. I think he's like 6'3" or something, and Zuckerberg's like 5'10" or
he looks quite small, Zuckerberg, and skinnier than that. So I think Elon will have the size advantage, but. Zuckerberg has been training jiu-jitsu for a bit and he's even competed recently. But I've seen that Elon is also training. He's training with some high-level guys.
He was training with Lex Friedman yesterday.
How's that? If you just have $1 billion and you can
that's the thing. They've got all the money to get the resources.
These guys are obsessed, when they put their minds to something. So I'm sure they're not gonna just sign up to a fight to get beat. They wanna do the best. So.
It's either gonna be very entertaining or they're gonna go all out for 30 seconds. And just be two sad people huffing and puffing.
Yeah.
So I got the thing called the whale, where he's just gonna lay on him. Where are you gonna lay on him?
Yeah. See, I hope it doesn't turn into some sort of like
stupid.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they will have enough skills to be able to keep a good pace and be fairly entertaining.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be sweet. But have you got anything to plug? Obviously we spoke about fights. Do you want
to? Listen, there's this weekend we have Eternal MMA on the Gold Coast, and I have 2 guys that I train with, and they're fighting. One of them being Jesse Murray. He's an up and coming fighter. He's also in the featherweight division. He gives me good work. We train together and saw that he's fighting this weekend. He's headlining the prelims.
Sweet.
He trains at Southside Training Center, my longest time gym, like where I've sort of come up. So shout out to Southside Training Center.
With VC,
and, huh?
With VC.
Yeah, well, Southside BJJ is sort of like a branch of it.
Yeah.
So VC is the head coach of Southside BJJ.
Yeah.
Southside Training Center is split and is like a sort of its own thing.
Okay.
But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is from Southside BJJ, so I guess you could say VC is also the head coach for that Jiu-Jitsu. So yeah, and then the other guy is in the co-main event, very high-level fighter, someone I train with and who's helping me a lot as well. His name is Ben Johnston, former 2-time Muay Thai world champion. He's into MMA now, going into his third fight in MMA. He's looking really good, and trains out at the Fight Center, Brisbane, just in Meadowbrook.
Okay.
Shouts out to TFC. I train there, work there. You know, it's a great gym and great space, and he's looking incredible. And so I'm really looking forward to this weekend's card at Eternal, and these guys are definitely ones to keep an eye on.
Yeah, nice. Well, yeah, hopefully they both pick up a win. But I only recently saw that Fight Centre. I was driving down the Logan motorway like a month ago, and I saw the sign, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Because I've seen it pop up on socials and stuff all the time, but never knew where it was. And I'm like, it's literally 5 minutes from my house.
Ignite
like,
your flame.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, and yeah, man, the Fight Center, I think they're no longer near the motorway.
Okay.
Slightly
right.
moved.
Okay,
it's next to, around the corner from the Logan Hospital.
Okay.
In Meadowbrook in Meakin Road.
Right.
It's a much bigger facility now. Huge space, cage, ring, mat,
easy
gloves, in many classes. Morning, afternoon, evening, you know, all the time. So no better time to start for you guys.
Nice. Maybe I'll come and train and
come and check it out, man. You get a free trial.
Oh, really? Yeah,
no commitment.
Throw the challenge out to another podcaster.
Just come in. Let's do it.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. No, for sure. Try and make something happen. But yeah, appreciate you coming in, man.
Yeah.
And
so much insight.
Yeah, definitely. It's opened my eyes to a whole new level for sure. But yeah, next time you got something up, come in and plug it again and we'll have a chat.
For sure, man. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it, man. All right. See you later.
Bye.